Okay, I think I lost you, so I'm going to continue this on to the second part. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this to you so that you have this so that you can adjust your article according to my feedback. Okay, so the little red square down here is what's telling me, hey, you have more copy in this box than your text box is allowing. So we want to make sure that we're doing it this way because it's going to flow easy into your here, I can't zoom out here. Hold on. Oh, into your text box. So what I'm going to do is let me pull this over this image. Oh, 1 second. I have like a whole bunch of things just popping up. There we go. And we're going to do one more text box here. And what we're going to do is just draw out a text box so that we have somewhere where it's going to flow. So go ahead and draw that text box out on page 2. Go back to page 1, click on that little red square. Make sure you zoom in on this because it won't click on it. Click on that little red square. And then you should see kind of like this little writing in there. You're going to click into that text box that you just drew out. And what's nice about that is if you do any changes to this box, it's going to flow into this box. Okay. So don't make individual text boxes that aren't linked. You want to make sure that they're linked, and that's how you do that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to set your body copy so that it's a good size. So we're going to do select all, which is Command A, and that's going to select all of the copy, even if it's not showing here. And we're going to go to your paragraph styles, and we're going to do new paragraph style. So just this little plus sign. And then what we want to make sure is we click on paragraph style 1. So we double click on that, and we're going to name this body copy so that we know anytime we want to use this body copy style, we can see it's labeled this. And then what I would do is go ahead and set this to a body copy that's readable. You might want to try just Times New Roman. That's a very classic font. Just a regular Times New Roman. And the size should be 10 point by 14 leading, like we discussed before. Now, what we're going to do before we click OK, this is our paragraph style options. We're going to put indents where the paragraph starts at each paragraph. And that just allows the reader to know that we're reading a new paragraph. So where it says indents and spacing, we're going to select that. And we're going to do first line indent. And we're going to do no more than 0.125 there. And click OK. And when you do that, you can see the changes being made. So this is actually the better size for your body copy. There you are. I just I started continuing on because I wasn't sure if you're going to be able to join me. But like I said, and you probably missed this because I was talking for 10 minutes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, I can hear you now.
Hello?
I'm
Okay.
still here.
You're still here. Okay. So let me go, Pat. I'm going to repeat this because I did have it on the recording, but I wasn't sure if you're going to be able to join me again. So basically what I said was create just one copy box, paste in your information, one copy box, go to your second page, do another copy box, and we're going to link that to this one. So I just drew out another copy box, go up to your first copy box and click that little red square that tells us we have more copy, but the copy box isn't showing it. So click on that red square. And what you're going to do is just click right in that new copy box that you created. And what
Okay.
that's going to do is that's going to allow you to, if you ever resize this, it's going to flow that copy into the next page. See how easy that is? See how I'm kind of making that
Yes.
smaller? Yeah. Okay. So that's basically what you need to do. You had a copy box, you just didn't have them linked. So you just need to link that. So that's how you would link it. So let me do it again. I would go back, delete everything, paste in your copy again. Take your type tool, draw out your second copy box. I'm going to zoom in on this page. Sometimes it's nice to zoom in. That little red box right there, you want to click right on top. And when you do that, you'll see kind of like a weird, like you'll see words kind of next to your cursor, and that's what you want. And then see how there's like a little link there that's telling me where do you want to place this text. So I want to click right in that new box that I just created, and it's going to paste it right in there. Okay.
Okay.
All right, now, and I showed this before when you weren't here, you want to create your select all. So Command A will select all of your copy, and we want to create a new paragraph style. So let me delete this one. I'll go back and do it again. So go up to Window. You want to go to Style, Paragraph Style, and Paragraph Styles just changes lots of copies. So it would be good for body copy. So here's your paragraph style panel. We want to ignore the basic paragraph right now. That's a default. We want to hit that plus sign. So we add a paragraph style and we want to click on it, paragraph style. We can double click to change the name, and then we can double click on the right of it to change the settings. So we're going to rename this body copy. And it looks very overwhelming on the left here, but just kind of worry about the basic stuff. We're going to go to the basic character formats, and this is where we'll select a font that is readable. I'm just going to do Times for now, regular, and then this is where we set the size. So 10 point by 14 is a good ratio where it's balanced. So you have 10 point is the size, the leading is the line spacing. Okay, and you can actually see if you have your preview button selected, it'll actually show you your changes as you're making them. And then the only thing I would suggest is going down 2 more to indents and spacing on the left here. And see how you have all these paragraphs, but you can't see a separation from them. I'm going to do a first line indent so that I can see that I have another paragraph starting. So first line indent, under your indents and spacing, set it to 0.125, nothing more than that. Click OK. And then you can see how it indents your first paragraphs. There's like a little space before. Delete some of this stuff. Okay. Now we need to set your these are subheads. Let's do a character style for that. We don't want to do a paragraph style because that's for a lot of copy. We want to do a character style because that's for subheads and headlines. All right, so go ahead and select character styles, which is under Window, Styles, Character. And we're going to do a new one. We need to do a new one for our subhead. So double click on the character style, and we're going to rename this subhead. And then this is kind of the creative process. You can see how different our character style options are, a little less options than our paragraph styles. And that's because we're just dealing with, subheads and headlines. We're not dealing with a ton of copy that we're changing. All right, so this is kind of the cool part. You can change this to a different font that's readable, but maybe more bold. You can make it bigger because it's a subhead. I wouldn't make it super, super big, but a good size is like 14 to 16. Okay, and you can actually change the color of it too. So like say if you wanted to make it, you go down to color, character color. If you wanted to make it blue or red, let's make it red. It's gonna show red. Now the only thing, click OK. See how it kind of adds to that? The only thing is we have this indent, which we don't want. We don't want that space before the subhead. So we're gonna select just the subhead again, and we're gonna go back to our paragraph styles and just click the basic paragraph so that it releases that we don't have that indent. I'm going to do space return here. Now you can always change your subheads if you want to. Say you don't like that font, go back, select it, double click on subhead, and you could go ahead and change the font to a different, or change to a different font. Kind of play around with it and see like what you think looks good. You can do like bold, italic, whatever you think looks good. I'm going to go with, let's see, Rockwell's pretty cool. And I'm going to go with a little smaller. Let's do 14. And click OK. Now watch the magic happen. This is where style sheets are awesome. Okay. So now that we have this set, this is the reason why we do style sheets. So we're going to select our next subhead, right? Which is meeting with the client. Boom. That's all we need to do is select that subhead in the character styles. Boom, hit paragraph, basic paragraph, and you got that subhead. You don't have to go through the whole process of changing the font and the size. You just hit subhead, make sure you hit basic so it doesn't have that indent. And look how quick that changed. Isn't that cool? Same thing here, subhead, basic. And I think that's it. So those are your subheads. Now your headline, you could do the same thing, like this communicate design. Let's set a character style for that. So let's go ahead and select it. Go to your character style panel, click on the plus sign, double click on the character style one, it renames it. Now we're going to name this headline. Now I like this. We can keep this. I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller so that it's within the boundaries of your margins. Okay. We could probably space it out a little bit. So let's do a little bit of tracking. Tracking is like the space in between each letter. I'm just kind of widening it a little bit. Click OK. And then anytime you have a headline, you can use that character style. Pretty cool. All right. So now that we got that into place, it looks like we're good because we need to keep everything on page 2 and 3. We don't want it to be on page, I'm sorry, 1 and 2. We don't want anything on page 3 and 4 until the second article comes into play. Okay. So now you can go in here and you can change your, because this line length is too long, you can change this to two columns if you want. You can change it to 3. It's completely up to you. I'm going to do 2 because it looks like you have it set to 2. And you don't even need to set this to 2 either. If you want to, you could do 1. Go back to 1 again. Let's go up to type. I'm sorry, object. I always get that wrong. Type. Let's go to 1 again. So we're not going to mess with that. And what we're going to do, we're just going to move this left corner of your body copy box so that it fits in this column that you have as a guide already. And then we can kind of go in and decide where we want to put the pictures in. If whatever makes sense. And you can definitely do this, say like if you wanted to do all on the bottom, let's do that because I think this image definitely does better if it's smaller here. You know, decide on what you want to do. You can pull this down. Actually, let's do this. Let's pull this all the way down. So this is where your grid structure comes into play and how you want it to look. And this is this is completely up to you and how everything fits. Now, it depends on like, you know, the images that you're going to use and how everything fits. You know, for instance, if you want to use something like this, let me pull this all the way down. I would probably go back to your 2-column and not 1 column because it's more wide. So then I would go back to your object, text frame options and make this 2-column. Oops, not 3, 2. Pull this down so it meets the margins. And then what you can do is place in this image somewhere where you think it makes sense. Bring this a little smaller here. You know, maybe this part, this image goes in on this side or it aligns nicely here. Just make sure your copy is not breaking in a weird way like up there. So it kind of fits like that nicely. Hide my guide so you can see what it looks like. And then you could play around with your elements. Like I like the fact that you're playing around with these lines down here. You can actually repeat that up here if you want, you know, make it all in what you think looks good and flows nicely in here. So this would be your first article here. page 1 and 2. The only thing we need to do is put a table of contents in here. So that's the one thing that I said kind of threw in the little mix at the end there. Table of contents shouldn't take up too much room, but this is where you're going to see how shifting and how easy it is to move things once you do have it flowing into one. Say, for instance, you need to move this over. Let's see, this far to accommodate your, pull this up so this is working here. You can see how it changes on this side. Now we'll just have to adjust certain things over here, which is fine. We'll just pull things down. To make it work. We might have to make things smaller, and that's okay. It's all about adjusting this. And I think this works. I don't think you really need to see the man's face. Just kind of pay attention to any widows and all that. So now you have a nice space for your table of contents. So I would take like a, like a rectangle or something. You can, just some type of highlighted spot. It doesn't even have to be, it could be like part of this color from your picture. And you can do a tint of that. Doesn't even have to be full 100%. I know I have a lot of stuff over here. Where's my properties? There's my properties. Properties panel is kind of cool because you could do a lot of different things in here. So bring up your properties panel. You can actually set the opacity of this. So let's say we don't want like 100% of this color. We can pull the opacity down and play around with that. Okay, so table contents, you're going to want to set that in here. Just make sure it's aligning with everything. And I'm probably going to have to play around with, again, let's see, my subheads because it looks like they're too big. So I'm going to go back to subheads and I'm going to make this a little smaller so that my baselines align a little better here. Pull these out a little bit more. You can always, try to play around and see what works for this. That actually works good. So your table of contents could go here. Just make sure everything's flowing okay over here. This is bad because it has one sentence at the very bottom. So I'm going to bump that up a little bit. There, that's perfect. Okay. So that's the example for 1 and 2 articles. And then when you start your second article, which is provided in the assets folder, and I showed this in the video I posted yesterday. Let me stop sharing. I'm going to share my screen so you can see what I'm doing here. Go to my home button. So you have that folder that you downloaded. It's called Newspaper Assets. Go to articles. You have this second article. It's called Unhappy Client. So you're going to want to do a copy and paste of this before you have to spell check it. Go ahead and copy, and then you'll start this article. And like I said, just review that lecture that I posted yesterday, and it goes through how to place all of this in there. But before I want to show you how awesome the style sheets are, because remember how we had to go in before and we were like, we have to find the point size and blah, blah, blah. Now that we have a style sheet, a paragraph style sheet, all we need to do is select our copy, select all, and go to our paragraph styles. Remember how we set that body copy? And boom, look at that. Select that and it turns it into our body copy, and it's the same size and it's everything that we need. All I have to do is go in here and do, different, columns if I want, and then obviously set my subheads. And that could be easy too. Just go in here, remember our subheads. Look how easy that is. And that's basically why we do style sheets as a designer, because you're given a project, you only have so much time to do it. This helps us so much, especially if we have tons of copy, and it's a large magazine. I've worked for magazines that were over 200, 300 pages. So this is a game changer when you're dealing with, how much time you have to work on it. All right, so when you're moving this, remember how we have to flow that box right now? It's not connected to anything over here. I don't know if you could see that, because if we click on it, now this shouldn't be linked to this box from page 2. This should be separate. So this is a whole new article. It should only be linked to what it's, goes with, okay? So this article is linked together because it goes together. This article will be linked together because it goes together. So these 2 pages, 2 and 3, shouldn't link. All right, once you have this pasted, remember what we had to do? We had to go on to the next page, draw out our type box, just like we did page 2. Click on here, click that little red square, remember, to link it. And then we're just gonna dump it right in there. There we go, perfect. So now we're ready. This is our last page. So we want to find a picture in here. We're going to take the rectangle frame tool. I'm just going to draw a big square here. Command D is place. And we're going to go ahead and find, where are all my stuff here? My drive. Hold on a second. Do I have my assets on here? Of course not. All right, I used to. I think I deleted them. Okay, let's go to 4. Images. I kind of like this picture. Place that in there. Object fitting, fit frame proportionately. And you can kind of move this around. You do have a lot of room, so I would probably move this down a little bit more. Okay. And then if you want to, we can add a headline in here. And the headline could be this here. So it looks like a subhead because I set it as a subhead. But since this is a new article, we're going to copy and delete that. And go ahead and delete that space out of there. And we're going to set its own type box. So it's a headline, just like you did in the beginning of the newsletter. Let me show my guides. Oh, they are showing. Hold on. My preview. There we go. You can see my box. This is my text box I just created. I'm going to paste this headline line in, but oops, I did this wrong. There we go. But instead of doing a subhead, I'm going to hit headline. Boom, right there. Just like we set it. This is the exact same style you have here. I have here. It's just not with that yellow background. Okay, so that's your headline. If you want to change that headline to a different font, you just have to create another character style, which is fine as long as you know how to do that. You can do that for sure. Let me pull this down. Make sure this is all lining up. Perfect. Pull this down. Make sure it's close to the article. I'm just making sure the spaces look good here. We do have an orphan sentence up there that we need to fix. So I'm going to bump this one more line up. Oh, it's still there. There we go. That's perfect. And then pull this down. And we can always adjust this. Make that bigger. Okay. Now that's page 3. And it flows into page 4. Now the thing we need to do here is add the other images. So you could do something similar to what you did up here, where you have, these elements going on. I'll copy this and I'll paste it down here. Just use a different image or images. But you could do the same thing here, just, use a different image that you didn't use before. Whatever you think works. And I'm going to pull this up. And it's up to you and, how many. I wouldn't do 1 column because it's too hard to read. But if you wanted to do, say, 3 columns or 2 columns, kind of play around with that. And then you could place one more image in here. And let me show you how to do a text wrap while we're doing that. So say if you want to do an image that goes like right in the middle here. Let me show guys why this isn't showing my, okay. So I would do like a square that would be pretty similar to the size of this column, your text frame box. I'm going to do Command D, and I'm going to place in that other image. Object fitting fill frame proportionately. That looks pretty good. Now, but the only problem is there's text behind there, right? So let me show you a really simple way so that you don't have any text behind there and we're missing out on any text behind there. And that's called a text wrap. Okay. So a text wrap, we find under your window. So go to window with it selected, text wrap. It's going to bring up this panel. And the first one selected, which means no text wrap, we want the second one that says wrap around bounding box. And once you do that, you'll notice things bump around it, right? And then you can place, this is kind of the space around on top, on the bottom, on the left and the right. We can set the space we want. So if we want more space, we can kind of play around with that. But I'm going to keep it at 0 and just show you as I move this around how this bumps around the text. Pretty cool. So as long as it flows, nicely and it's not hard to read, I'm going to check this. I think you're good. Just make sure it's not wrapping in a weird way. Like I wouldn't leave like one sentence up here. I would leave it so that it has a nice flow in your copy, and I would align it with your columns, whatever your columns decide that you're doing. This is kind of not aligning with my columns. I have to center it a little bit. So that's a text wrap. If you want to play around with that, you don't necessarily have to do that. You can always pull your image, over and do some type of design work with that. If you kind of like it maybe by itself, you can do that. We have some space over here. I would probably try to equal that space out a little bit. And let's see, what we did here was 2 columns. This actually sits nicely in here. So let me see, do we top? Making sure the margins are the same. Yeah. What we could do here is just make this bigger. So it kind of bumps into your copy just a little bit. And then we'll put a text wrap on it. So you could do something like that, as long as it's not creating a real thin margin here where the text is too hard to read. Play around with that, but see how that kind of makes it more even down here. You're not having that big white gap. Okay, so play around with it, see what works. I'm gonna give you this recording just for you because I hope you're still listening. I can't, you're so quiet. You're probably like, oh my gosh, this is so much information. But I'm going to give you this individual critique recording because I think this will.
I'm not in introduction to layout. Today is just today now. Introduction to layout today. I'm in a class meeting. I can talk right now. I'm still here.
Okay, good. Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna send the 2 recordings to you so that you can actually go in and change it based on what, and then you can rewind it and it's easy for you to edit it.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I know it's a lot. Just kind of take it one step at a time. The good news is like you kind of got it all started. You just have to redo certain things. So I think, just going back, listening to the recording will help you adjust what you need to do. Just don't forget to put your table contents in. And if you need to listen to my recording about that, I posted that yesterday. So you can kind of skip through whatever you need to. I basically just went over everything I just showed you here. I just gave you a custom critique for your actual work. So,
Okay.
okay. And then when you're done, you're going to save it and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to package it, save it. And when you package it this time, just make sure, and it's a little different than the last time, that, you're going to name it as such. Make sure this PDF setting is set to high quality before you package it. And that just makes a high quality PDF for print. And then you'll hit package and then it'll package it. I'm going to cancel this because this is actually your work and I don't want to worry about saving it for my sake. But any other questions?
No, no,
I know it's
no.
a lot. If you have any questions going forward, let me know.
Okay.
I will process this video and send it to you, and I'll have 2 different links for you. So just give me about 30 minutes and to like 45 minutes, and I should get that for you.
Okay.
Okay. All righty, Bob. It looks like I got to go here. It's past the time.
Yes.
I will send that to you as soon as I can, and you have a good day.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Uh,
All right. Have a good one.